ICE Director Todd Lyons is in the hot seat Tuesday as he answered questions before the House Homeland Security Committee alongside Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Rodney Scott.
Now, Lyons spent much of his time defending his agent's actions and blasted the anti-ICE rhetoric from protesters and elected officials.
We are enhancing public safety, securing our national security, and finally restoring integrity to the immigration system that had been allowed to collapse. This commitment has a cost. We are facing the deadliest operating environment in our agency's history. In fiscal year 2025, death threats against ICE personnel increased more than 8,000%. Assaults on officers have skyrocketed over 1,400%. One officer in Minnesota had his finger bitten off by a protester, egged on by elected officials characterizing our officers as Gestapo or secret police.
But Congressman Dan Goldman pushed Lyons on the Gestapo and secret police comparisons, which led to this clash. Let's take a look.
Do you know what other regimes in the 20th century required similar proof of citizenship?
Yes, sir.
What?
Sir, there was various nefarious regimes that did that.
Is Nazi Germany one?
Yes, but
Is the Soviet Union one?
I honestly,
sir, I'm asking the questions. Is the Soviet Union one?
Yes, sir, but I totally, this is the wrong type of questioning.
I'll tell you what the wrong type of
actually,
thing
sir,
is. Sir, it's my
Holocaust
time.
Museum
Reclaiming my time. People are simply making valid observations about your tactics, which are un-American and outright fascist.
Meantime, Representative Eric Swalwell confronted Lyons about the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. You'll remember both were shot by ICE last month while protesting the agency's presence in Minnesota, and both were quickly labeled domestic terrorists by administration officials, a move that Lyons says he won't be apologizing for.
Mr. Lyons, will you apologize to the family of Renee Good for being called a domestic terrorist by the president and his leadership?
No, sir.
Why not?
Sir, I welcome the opportunity to speak to the family in private, but I'm not going to comment on any active investigation.
Is she a domestic terrorist?
Sir, I'm not going to comment on the investigation, and the president and Secretary Noem are elected officials. That's their right to their comments.
Will you apologize to the family of Alex Preddy for also being called a domestic terrorist?
Sir, again, I'm not going to speak to any ongoing investigation.
The hearing seemed to come at an inflection point when Representative Lamonica McIver, who was arrested at an ICE facility last year, she clashed with agents there. She asked Lyons if he thought he was going to hell. Let's watch.
Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government
The gentlelady will
agencies-
suspend. The
How many-
gentlelady will suspend.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question. You guys are always talking about religion here in the Bible. I mean, it's okay for me to ask a question, right?
That exchange quickly went viral, drawing outrage from the right. The Trump War Room account on X described McIver as deranged, writing in part, "What a freak!" And House Republicans writing in their own post, "Unhinged. Democrat Lamonica McIver is currently under indictment for assaulting ICE agents. She had a total meltdown during a Homeland Security hearing, telling acting ICE Director Todd Lyons he's going to hell." This is why I don't like these hearings. I don't know what the point of any of that was. Democrats should be questioning the tactics used by ICE, not morally grandstanding. I mean, that's what this ridiculous thing that she did. Ridiculous to now, they should have never labeled. They should have never said domestic terrorist in the first place, and they wouldn't be in the position of having to comment on the fact that they shouldn't have said that before they did the investigation. This hearing would be constructive if it was about, what are the reasons for wearing masks? What about, body cams? This is what the funding of DHS is now. We all agree on the body cam footage is stalled over, I think, whether they're going to be masked or not. Some discussion of that. Instead, it was all moral grandstanding. And
Well, I think these
You're
hearings,
going to hell. You're going to hell. Great.
yeah, I think these hearings on both sides of the aisle are largely
Purely
theatrical.
performative.
They're supposed to be taking clips from both Republicans and Democrats that pull clips and fundraise. That's what they do with these hearings. And so it's not beneficial to the American public. You named several ways that it could be. I think that there could have been a real conversation about the difference between eliminating ICE and putting guardrails on ICE. Obviously, the American public and federal government understand that it's a good thing to have body cameras on these ICE agents because 3,000 have already been administered. I believe there's 13,000 ICE agents on the streets total in America, and so we need 10,000 more.
They're all for them.
Yeah, so that's why they implemented that. But there are some other things, which is why our government might partially shut down, that are not being addressed, like not arresting people near churches or schools, like officials not wearing masks, like being held to the same accountability standards that local law enforcement are held to. So if something goes wrong, there's a thorough, impartial investigation into law enforcement officials, and they're not ultimately protected with immunity, like we heard J.D. Vance say, by our federal government. So there's some conversations that Democrats are trying to have and probably going to stand firm on that may lead to a government shutdown because Republicans have to come to the table and talk about this stuff. Like we talked about a CBS poll yesterday where most Americans, a majority, are saying that ICE has now gone too far. And so if we just look at the deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, anybody who's in leadership in the federal government should be able to say, we overspoke about calling this a domestic terrorism, specifically when you talk about Alex Preddy. I mean, we should definitely be able to say that, right? I mean, that both of them should be.
All right. They made claims. They said he approached law enforcement, gun drawn, which was not accurate. So.
And I think that it's not just Democrats that were like stoking the flame in there. You had the representatives from ICE that were saying things like, we will not be intimidated. We will not. And so when you're going in there with that type of attitude, we
will not be intimidated.
Yeah, we're not trying. They didn't come in there to try to intimidate them. They came to, and the question about, are you going to hell? Whatever that exchange was too much.
They're getting 8,000% increase or whatever is in threats. There are people trying to intimidate them.
No, he's talking about by the questioning. He's saying, like, we're not going to be intimidated while he was in there. And it's like, well, the whole point of a hearing is to ask questions. They weren't supposed to be pleasant for your liking. And so I just think, like, we don't need the theatrics, but we do need some solutions. And the more that no one makes it
hostile.
But there's no concessions being made. And so the real question is, what is Congress doing with this information? If there was any serious, valid information that came from this hearing yesterday, how does this push us forward to getting real reforms done that make sense and are common sense for most Americans with ICE agents?
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg appears to be the latest billionaire to ditch California as he's reportedly buying a new mansion in Florida. We'll be right back.